Secretary Thomas E. Perez. He's the nation's 26th Secretary of Labor. He was nominated by President Barack Obama, sworn in July 23rd, 2013. And if you look at his record, he's committed to making good on the promise of opportunity for all, giving every working family a chance to get ahead, and putting a middle-class life within reach of everyone willing to work for it. And I would say, when we look at numbers and we look at gains, I think he's doing just that. Secretary Perez, more than a pleasure to have you with us. Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you, Leslie, and to all of your listeners. It's always great to be with you.
Let's look at the numbers that came out in the latest jobs report and the gains that we saw for the last month of last year in December.
Last month was exactly like many of the preceding months, a very good month for job growth in America. Over 250,000 jobs gained, and when you factor in adjustments that get made from the preceding 2 months, November and October, there's actually more than 300,000 jobs. And so when you look at the year 2014, there were almost 3 million jobs added. That's the best year since 1999. The unemployment rate is now 5.6%. Back in November of 2013, it was something like 7%. And this is the largest decline in the unemployment rate since 1984. And the primary reason for this remarkable decline in the unemployment rate is that more people got jobs who were unemployed. And the vast majority of those folks who got jobs were the long-term unemployed, which is very good. Another good aspect, not only of last month but of last year, is the growth that we're seeing is very, very broad-based. The construction sector, manufacturing sectors, other sectors that produce good middle-class jobs are coming back, and that is very, very important. Now, there's a lot of unfinished business, and there's absolutely no denying that. That's why no one around here is spiking any footballs, because there are too many people who are still on the sidelines and want to get back in. There are too many people who have been working, but they haven't had a meaningful raise in years. We have to address the issue of wage stagnation. We have to address the issue of making sure that everybody who wants to work can get access to a good middle-class job, and that's really the unfinished business. But we're undeniably moving in the right direction, and we need to keep up this momentum.
Are you encouraged because of your mission as the labor secretary in your job, what you want to do, and I think you're definitely very successful in moving toward your goals? Are you encouraged when you see so many states in the United States that have, separately within the state at the state level, voted in the latest election, the midterm election, to increase the minimum wage in so many states across the board in this country?
Well, not only am I encouraged by that, we help to facilitate that. I spent a lot of my own time working with state leaders, with governors, with mayors, with county executives on this issue, because while we continue to work here at Washington, I wasn't going to just go on one track there, because we knew that the Republican leadership last year was hell-bent on making sure that working poor don't get a raise. And so I'm very excited. And you look at beat red states like Arkansas and South Dakota, Nebraska, Alaska, who raised the minimum wage, and it's very heartening on the one hand to see that roughly 7 million people got a raise as a result of these state and local initiatives. At the same time, it's frustrating, because you shouldn't have to win the geographic lottery to get a raise if you are a working family, and that's where we're at, and that's why we need to raise the federal floor, and we're certainly not giving up, and we're going to continue to fight like heck.
There is a rise in unemployment, as you said, across the board. Explain to folks why that's good, and not just good because we have a rise in employment and more people are getting jobs out there who've been waiting, and it's not just focused in one area. Why is it so good that it's spread out across the board in retail, manufacturing, hotel industry, restaurant business?
Sure. I mean, broad-based growth is good for America, because then you don't have all your eggs in one basket. There are a number of states where your economy is almost virtually entirely dependent on one industry, and those states often live through the boom-bust cycle. The growth that we're seeing now, construction added 48,000 jobs last month alone. That's in
December, winter.
That's in December. That's 12 times more jobs than would be created by the Keystone Pipeline. So in 1 month, construction created 12 times more jobs than the direct jobs that would be created by the construction of the Keystone Pipeline. In the manufacturing context, the average worker on an assembly line right now is working 42 hours a week. They're making overtime on average every single week. Auto workers are doing very well. I was with the president earlier this week in Detroit, and what was remarkable to me is a year ago, a gallon of gas was $3.33 on average. When I passed the gas station in Detroit near the Ford plant where we went to, I saw a sign. The price of gas there was something like $1.68. Unbelievable. And that's money in people's pockets that they can spend. And
most definitely.
So broad-based recovery is really good for everyone because it gives an opportunity for people with different skills and different interests to punch their ticket to the middle class.
This report also showed unemployment down to 5.6%. I saw something on Facebook, Secretary Perez, the other day about all these things that Republicans promised to do. And it said, I had President Obama's picture, and one of the things was unemployment below 6%, done. And right. I just like seeing the checks and done, and Americans should be encouraged by that. But, whenever you see a number with unemployment, you do have those who like to turn that glass half full to half empty, and they'll say, well, a lot of people stopped looking for jobs. So what does this 5.6 unemployment number being down to this percent show? It shows that people are gaining employment, or they're giving up trying, a bit of both.
No, well, the one of the most important statistics over the last year is that the labor force participation rate has been constant. It's lower than it's been in the past. The big reason for that is because the population is aging. People are retiring. That's been going on for 15, 20 years. But in 2014, when we're looking at this data, the labor force participation rate was basically steady. And so what we know about 2014 is that the majority the decline that I talked about in the unemployment rate, the pretty remarkable decline, was the primary reason was that people got a job who were looking for a job. Sometimes the unemployment rate goes down for a bad reason because people stopped looking. But in this case, the unemployment rate went down primarily because unemployed people got jobs. And then the other reason it went down is because we have natural labor force growth. And so other people entered the workforce, which happens every single day or every single month of the year. So things are moving in the right direction for the right reasons. But again, I speak to so many people across this country, and your listeners know these stories of friends who are working 2-3 jobs because they can't make a decent wage, others who still are looking for a job, people who wonder, are my kids going to be better off than I? And those are all questions that keep me up at night, and those are the questions that motivate the president to do, for instance, what he did today, which was to announce a very bold and exciting initiative to make community college education free for people who can't afford it. Everyone should have access to the opportunity to improve their skills and talents through education. And we used to lead the world in education, and we've lost that edge, and we need to get it back. And that's why the president is investing in our human capital.
I agree with you 150%, if that's possible. We had the best year for the labor market since 1999, and that isn't just about these numbers and job creation and it's also our stand, the United States' stand in our role in the global economy. We stood out as performers in that regard as well, and this plays into that scenario, that equation, and the bottom line number, right?
Absolutely, and you look at the last month and the last year, and you put it in a broader perspective, we've now had 58 consecutive months of private sector job growth to the tune of roughly 11 million jobs. And again, for your listeners, to put it in perspective, that's more jobs created than Europe, Japan, and every other advanced nation in the world combined. We have done better than Europe, Japan, every other advanced nation in the world combined. We're moving in the right direction, and I've traveled recently to Europe, to the UK, and to Germany, and to Canada, and to Australia, and everybody tells me there, I wish I had your economy. And again, we're proud of the progress we're making, but there's nobody resting on their laurels because there are still too many people who are not sharing in this prosperity. We've got to make sure that the rising tide lifts all the boats and not just the yachts. And there's still too many dinghies that are springing leaks here because the prosperity and the productivity in the workplace, which used to benefit both employers and workers, is only benefiting employers all too frequently, and not enough is benefiting workers.
But you are allowed to sing praises today, Secretary Perez. I mean,
well, I'm optimistic.
This jobless rate, when we're looking at, the best, economy overall, the best year, the best number since 2009. But since 2008, we have the jobless rate dropping to the lowest level, and the addition of 250,000 jobs, which the month before 353,000, both exceeded all economists' predictions across the board. That is something to sing about.
It's actually quite interesting to, if you were to look at what people were saying a year ago, the so-called experts, and what they were predicting. In January of 2014, only 2 of the roughly 50 experts who were surveyed predicted that the unemployment rate could fall below 6% by the end of 2014. I mean, some of the folks were saying, well, maybe the end of 2016, maybe never. The Obama economy can't work. Well, they were wrong, and they were wrong by quite a bit. And I've learned in this job and in all my jobs, you never underestimate the grit and resilience of American workers, American businesses, and the power of leaders like the president who have a strong progressive vision to help grow ladders of opportunity for everyone. Never underestimate the grit and the ability and capacity of folks to get things done. And we're going to continue to fight like heck. And I wake up every single day asking myself the question, how do we lift up living standards for working people and give them those same opportunities that I had? I want these ladders of opportunity to be very, very sturdy and very well fortified, and that's why we're working on the minimum wage. That's why we're working on making community college more accessible. That's why we're working on immigration reform and transportation infrastructure. All of these things will add to the prosperity that we're already seeing.
I want to jump to that and go back to that in one second, but I want to talk about what, when people look at these numbers, a lot of times they'll be like, well, that's great what it does for the people. I mean, less people unemployed, more people employed. But these numbers also signal what companies are doing and what they're feeling. This is certainly, at least 2 months in a row, more in growing optimism among companies to hire people and to definitely say our bad economic times are behind us. We're moving forward and we're pushing forward. And these numbers prove that, I think.
Well, the optimism that you're talking about from both businesses and consumers has actually been increasing substantially over the last year. And those are documented. There are surveys that are done every month to measure both business confidence and consumer confidence, and they're both very much moving in the right direction. And one measure of consumer confidence is the number of people who quit their job voluntarily. People quit voluntarily only when they have confidence that they can get a better job. And the number of people who voluntarily quit their job in recent months has gone up significantly, and we're basically back to pre-recession levels. That's a really good sign of a healthy economy. In the depths of the recession, Leslie, there were over 7 job seekers for every job opening. That's tough. Now we're down to less than 2 job seekers for every job opening, and I'm confident that we're going to get closer to 1 or 1.5 by the end of 2015. And what that does is that gives workers and job seekers more leverage to get better wages. So all of those confidence indicators that you're talking about, and there are measures of business confidence, and they're all going up as well. Manufacturers, the order of the day there, the word that's trending is insourcing. The word that's trending downward is outsourcing. That's what we're seeing in manufacturing and in other sectors across America.
And, you talked about the U.S. resilience. Also, the U.S. demand seems to persist and will continue to persist, even though markets overseas struggle. When we look at when we look at a combination of things, you had talked about the gas prices in Detroit. We do need to factor all of this. I mean, don't we? I mean, when we, put in that more people are working, then they have more money, and then, the gas prices are lower. We've seen the increased, confidence in consumerism. These are all win-win-wins for the future for the American people. And like you said, they can be more confident that, hey, life will be better for their kids than it was for them, or that things are getting better. This year is better than last year, for example.
I couldn't agree more. But at the same time, we're going to continue to work to make sure that we provide greater access to educational opportunities, that we do things that we can do right now within our regulatory and legal authority to lift wages. We're working on a rule to address the issue of overtime. We have regulatory authority to ensure that certain people who work overtime get a raise. So every opportunity we have to lift wages, we're working on that, because that's what the unfinished business is making sure that prosperity in this country is shared, and people who are working hard are rewarded for that hard work.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with us
My
today.
pleasure.
Secretary Thomas Perez, nation's 26th Secretary of Labor, nominated by the President, sworn in 2013. He's doing a heck of a job, and I'm glad he's with us and will stick around. Thank you very much.